The cars are lining up on the grid in preparation for the qualifying race here at Navarra. A very warm welcome, hot welcome indeed, from this northwestern part of Spain. I'm Ben Edwards with John Watson, Hayley Coxon, who will be down on the grid, getting reaction from the drivers as we prepare for the all-important qualifying race, which of course does earn a few points and certainly sets the cars up for the championship race. John, the Navarra circuit demands quite a lot from the tyres, particularly in the temperatures we're seeing.
It's a shortish circuit, very tight, 15 turns, 800-metre front straight, but it will ultimately be the driver who looks after his rear tyre will be the driver who will stand on the winner's podium.
Pole position for this race has been taken by contenders Marcus Winkelhock and Marc Basseng, and Hayley caught up with Marc Basseng just a few moments ago.
Performance you've been getting out of the Lamborghini here at Navarra, you feeling confident going into the qualifying race?
Yeah, I really feel really comfortable because I have my teammate on my side, so I'm sure nothing will happen in the first corner. The car is good, we have a lot of torque. I hope the start will be okay so that we going into the first corner as 1 and 2.
Thank you.
We had a quick word with Mark, didn't we, John, earlier on, and heat is definitely still a bit of a worrying issue here.
It's been a problem not just in GT1 but in GT3 as well. It's a question of how high you can afford to let your engines run, and of course the amount of air that you can pass through the radiator and how you get that hot air out. So engine temperatures, transmission temperatures also an issue, as well as just simply the tyres yelling enough before they come to the end of their respective stints.
So just looking at the Hex's Aston Martin there, lining up on the grid of Steph Dusseldorp. Car he shares with Clivia Piccioni. That starts on the third row of the grid. But as we look just slightly further up, we've got the championship leading car. There it is, number 23, Michael Krum and Lucas Lohr. It's Michael Krum to start the race on this one. He's got the Corvette next door, Nico Verdonk, new to the Corvette, but very rapid in qualifying this morning. Did a good job, of course, sharing that car with Mike Hazemans.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep an eye on that Corvette. It's on the second row of the grid. We know it's got good speed, good torque, and it's a slightly uphill climb up to turn 1, which is a little more than a curve, but immediately you're through that, you're hard on the brakes for turns 2, and then there's the even slower turn 3. So please let this field of cars make the start, get through the first lap, and can we have all the cars that make the start complete the first lap? Not a lot to ask, guys. It'd be great for us here in the commentary booth if you did.
Yeah, that would be nice. So cars move away on the formation lap then, and just to remind you, it is the two Lamborghinis that control the front row. Interestingly enough, though, the number 37 car, second on the grid, when it comes to the race tomorrow, has a 5-place penalty for an extra engine use in this year's championship. So, but it doesn't apply today, it only applies in the championship race. There are some penalties that do apply for this one, though. Let's just run through that grid. The two Al Incal cars in the front row, with Marc Basseng starting and Nicky Pastorelli starting in his car. On the second row, then, you've got Michael Krum in the Nissan and Nico Verdonk. He actually starts in third place. Fifth is Steph Dusseldorp. Sixth is Max Martin, and the first of the Ford GTs on the grid. Seventh for Andrea Piccini. Eighth for Nicky Katzberg, making his debut for Nissan, having been so fast for Corvette. Westbrook is 9th on the grid, Brabham is 10th, both of course in the Nissan GTR. That's Brabham has had a 5-place penalty, that's why he's back there. Henrici and Muller are together on row 6. Then Vanina X and Antoine Leclerc, the two teammates at Belgian Racing with their Fords. Towards the back, the Corvette of Michael Rossi. There is Stefan Mucker. He starts right at the back, of course. He's taken a 10-place penalty, but very interesting tactics from car number 8 this morning, John. They didn't even bother with qualifying effectively. They went out at the very first round.
Well, we called it that way. They didn't actually confirm that. They really couldn't, because it would be outside of, I think, the spirit of the event. But they cited technical reasons, but what they've done is saved up lots and lots of sets of tyres, which will be as fresh, if not brand new. And that may well play into the strength of Darren Turner and Stefan Mucker, who really has got to look after his own race this year or this weekend. Keep out of trouble, because he was in heaps of trouble at Silverstone a month ago.
Well, there we are on board the Corvette. That's got a good starting position once again. It's been competitive in quite a few of the recent races. Just looking at the qualifying race wins we've had so far this year, Ford have had 2 qualifying race wins this year, but they've yet to win a championship race. Lamborghini's had 1 qualifying race win, Nissan have had 1, and so have Aston Martin. You've got to say that Lamborghini are best placed in this one with 2 cars on that front row, but don't discount the Nissans. And how these cars look after their tyres will be crucial.
Yes, and in particular with the Lamborghini, the way the engine gearbox configuration is, there's a substantial amount of rear wheel weight, and that should hopefully give them that little bit of additional traction, but also help them look after those rear tyres. Certainly better than some of the other cars in the field, and Nissan and Aston Martin, the front engine cars, even the Corvette, where the engine is somewhat in the front, more like in a mid configuration.
So you'll see the safety car peel off in just a second here as it comes into the pits, and then they have to finish off the last part of the lap, and then of course we'll get hopefully the start called. So let's hope they can keep a good formation. Certainly the two Lamborghinis just beginning to put a little bit of power down here, and I do hope that they've got a good understanding between each other as to what they're going to do heading down into the first corner.
Key will be who got pickup on their tyres in this formation lap.
Heading down towards the lights then as we prepare for the qualifying race here at Navarra. We go green, and the two Lamborghinis go into launch mode as they head down towards turn one. It's a good start on the outside and 4-5 abreast further back in the back, and it looks to me as though it's Nicky Pastorelli who sweeps into the lead from the outside of the front row. The pole sitter Marc Basseng has to settle for second, and already progress from the back, and spinner Belgian forward in the middle of the back, and just avoided by Stefan Mucker.
I think he might have got clipped, but on turn 3, 4 cars off track on the exit of turn 3. Please, guys, my wish you didn't respect.
Oh, yeah, there could be damage to one or two of those cars. You're on board with Michael Krum, and he's dropping well back here, John.
Well, he may have been one of those 4 cars that went off on the exit of 3. I suspect he's been clipped, and he may well have a tyre deflation or damage to the rear of the car.
Oh, that's disaster for the championship leader. Not what he wanted at all. Michael Krum dropping right back in the pack there. It's the number 37 car, Nicky Pastorelli, that leads, but the Corvette on a charge, and further back the DKR Corvette, also the black car, trying to make up some places. But up front, near the front, Nico Verdonk in the red Corvette, hounding the Lamborghinis.
Well, he looked like he was coming strongly off turn 8. He was quicker off than the Lamborghinis. At the back of the field, we've got cars. There were 1.4 cars wide coming down the back straight behind the Corvette. It's had a great start, being a major beneficiary with all the messing around in turns 2 and 3.
Alex Muller there in the Aston Martin, battling with Westbrook by the looks of things. They were side by side. The Mark VDS Fords both seem to have got a reasonably good start, but Westbrook in car number 22, they're trying to, he's not really had a great first lap, so he's trying to re-establish himself. Two Fords come through, the Hexus Aston Martin. That DKR Corvette has made up a load of places.
It was the real beneficiary. What took place in turns 2 and 3, particularly in the corner, turn 3, he just sailed through up the inside. Everybody was off the track on the outside, and that's how he managed to find himself all the way up into, let's look and see where he is.
Here comes Westbrook down the inside of the Aston Martin and retakes Alex Muller. That is for 10th place, so Westbrook's got himself into 10th.
The Corvette's gone from 15th to 8th. What a great start.
That's incredible. That's Michael Rossi, the young Frenchman, so great effort from him. But you saw Westbrook getting past the Aston, and interestingly, Stefan Mucker in the orange and white, the white with the orange or red coloured stripes on it. That has now pulled up to the back of the other Aston, which was so much further up on the grid. So perhaps starting at the back did work. Let's see what happened at that start.
Well, everybody clean off the grid. Then the cars fan out 3, 4, almost 5 wide, coming down the main straight into turn 1. And this is where it all started to go pear-shaped. We're familiar with that. Into turn 2, there was contact at the tail of the field. There's the Ford going round. I don't know whether Stefan Mucker, he certainly did get clipped. But there was the exit of turn 3, where it really went absolutely pear-shaped. 3. That's the contact with the Ford from the Aston.
And
but on the outside, look at the Corvette, but it suddenly finds, here's, on the one hand, 3 cars off, then 2, one of the Fords and Nissan, one of those is Krum, and that also the Enger Aston Martin as well.
Yeah, you're right. Krum had contact with a Ford, certainly the latter part of the corner, but whether that was what caused his problem, we'll no doubt find out later. Leading this race then is Nicky Pastorelli in the number 37 Al Inkle car, chased by his team manager, Marc Basseng, in the second of those two, and major championship contender. But of course, remember, tomorrow, the 37 car leading has got a 5-place penalty drop on the grid. So even if it wins here, it will lose places on the grid for tomorrow. The Corvette in third, the Hexus Aston Martin in 4th place of Dusseldorf, and then behind him is Henrici in car number 40, and then it is Max Martin in the number 41 car. So Henrici had a good first lap there, and he'll be pleased with that. There's Clivio Piccioni. His car's currently in 4th place, the first of the Astons. You can see it there with lights ablaze. That's his car ahead of the 2 Fords, but the Fords could be dangerous as this race progresses, because they should look after their tyres well.
Yeah, so they're going to, their race will come to them much further into the 1 hour ago, 55 minutes that we have of this race remaining. There's a gap between 2nd or 3rd and 4th. The Aston Martin not quite able to keep up the pace of the first three cars. That's allowing these two Ford GTs to run down the Aston Martin. It will be not a matter of if but when that one or two of those Fords find a way through.
Max Martin, he's driven already today in a race. He was in the GT3 race earlier and went off in his Aston Martin. He'll be keen not to repeat that performance, chasing teammate Mark Henrici. And Max here's got a new co-driver this weekend in Bertrand Baguette. Just listen up, watch as he goes to work here. Tight and twist, you get an idea of what this Navarra circuit is like. No rest, is there?
No, into turn 13, another very low-speed corner. In fact, on the Ford GTs, they're going all the way down the gearbox to first gear, about 4 times on a lap. Other cars only having to use second gear.
Headlight shot on the second place Lamborghini, so we're looking straight from the front of the car there at the teammate, moving out of the slipstream.
That's to let air into the radiators. The problem is everybody's marginal on cooling, so if you're running directly under the car ahead of you, you're not getting the maximum amount of airflow through the radiators, so they must do that to keep the car temperature somewhat in control.
Yeah, that's right. So Henrici still ahead of Max Martin. The battle of the Fords, and there was a mistake. Yeah, up front there could be a change. Niki Pastorelli, I think, has just held on to it, but under pressure from his teammate Marc Basseng.
He made a mistake in turn 3, ran slightly wide, got onto the rubber on the outside of the track. That's allowed once again the Lamborghini to draw together, but principally to put the Corvette even more into the equation. And the Lamborghini now has to be very careful that Nico van Donk doesn't slot the Corvette, which he's quite capable of doing. You know, fundamentally a single-seater driver driving a GT car, he only knows one way to go forward.
Yeah, he won the kart race yesterday too. They had a fun karting event just across from the track here, and Nico Verdonk, the Corvette driver, won that. Could he be on for double victory? Somebody kicking up the dust in the background, and actually all the leaders are closing back up because of that mistake.
Indeed, well, you go slightly wide, slightly offline, and there is a lot of rubber offline. We saw it earlier. Some of the shots there, we have a look again and see what happened. Oh, that's fell around the racetrack, so yeah, it's a function. It's the function of what happened to the lead car. Just about managed to get itself back into the lead, but it's drawn these 3 lead cars. In fact, it's taken now 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. There's a big gap between 7th and 8th place. That's Rossi in the Corvette in 8th. So it's going to be a 7-car battle up until we get to the first round of pit stops. Yeah, this is going to keep it very tight indeed. Wonderful, and there was a little brake lock up, I think, from the leader. Yes, Niki Pastorelli just locked the brakes. So again, we're having seen Marc Basseng having to pull out, get into the fresh air. He can't take any benefit from the slipstream from his teammates' car.
Yeah, same thing for Max Martin in the background. He was doing the same behind his teammate, or rather not behind his teammate, to get the clear air. There's Marcus Winkelhock due to take over from Marc Basseng, man who earns the pole position in the end, his first ever pole in GT1. Ex-DTM racer, ex-Formula 1 driver, famously, very, very briefly, led a Grand Prix. But he's really enjoying his time in GT1 now. So let's ride with the Corvette. Listen to the motor. Doesn't get a lot of chance to stretch its legs though, not on this section.
No, but again, it's a very well balanced car, and he put a sort of young Nico van Donk into the car. He will push the lower. He looks down the inside, but it was a slight mistake. He almost overran into the corner. The pace of the 2 Lamborghinis in turn 8 coming onto the pit straight, not as quick as the Corvette had the capacity to enter the corner. He's looking again down, can't get close enough to go down the inside into turn 9. It's keeping these 2 Lamborghinis very, very honest. Yeah, I mean, I wondered if the Lamborghinis would run and hide in this race, John, but it's not happening. No, they're not. I think they're having to run at a pace. They've got issues they've got to control, temperature being one of those issues, so they can only really allow themselves to run to a certain, let's say, RPM. The higher the RPM they pull, the more heat the engine generates, and they can't dissipate that heat.
Yeah, and this isn't really what they wanted. They would love to have had a little bit of a gap to then look after the cars, but it's not happening for them. They're being hounded by Corvette, by Aston, and by 2 Fords, and one of the Fords up the inside, Max Martin, makes the move on teammate Mark Henrici, and it was well seen by Henrici, who gave him just enough space. He's trying to come back at him, and Max Martin says, right, I'm going to go to the inside if you're going to try that one.
Well, the compromise was Martin compromised his exit, so he didn't have the speed off, so Henrici looking to come back at the Belgian driver, now just ahead of his teammate. But again, the Corvette hounding these 2 Lamborghinis, and they're going to struggle. The temperature issue is a real issue. Corvette seem to have it covered better than Lamborghini have, coming through turn 5 up into turn 6.
Yeah, as you say, Nico Verdonk is looking one way or the other. He's not really challenging yet, but the car looks stable. He seems to be able to change line easily. He's not using all the road everywhere.
But he's capable. He can certainly enter corners at a higher speed than we're seeing the Lamborghinis do. He runs them down. In fact, what he needs not to do is run so close to the back of the Lamborghini. Just keep a little bit of margin, but get on the throttle as we look at Henrici now trying to get back at Maxime Martin. So these two Ford VDS drivers battling amongst themselves, and they need to be careful that they don't take each other or put each other into a more vulnerable position.
Let's see what else is happening. Michael Rossi in the black Corvette is holding on to 8th. Hatzberg is 9th on his debut for Nissan, a little bit of a lock-up behind. Westbrook is currently in 10th place. Stefan Mucker is in 11th. David Brabham in 12th. Alex Muller 13th in his Aston Martin. Leclerc is running 14th. It's 15th. And Michael Krum, he had that problem on the first lap, if you remember. He is still running, but he is running plumb last. So the championship leader is running last in this race, which is being, well, second place at the moment is his big rival. So this is not good news, but remember, this is the qualifying race. The main race comes tomorrow.
The problem Michael Krum has got is that he's lapping basically over a second slower than the lead car, so maybe there was damage to that Nissan we didn't get a clear view of. So things beginning to settle down a little bit as he comes up just under the 50 minutes remaining, and both Lamborghinis are sort of consolidating. They've got the Corvette in control, running in 4th place. Steph Dusseldorf not really threatening the Corvette, so everybody's that moment of great tension about 4 laps ago when we nearly saw a lead change up at turn 3. Things are settling down. Drivers are thinking more about driving their stint than maybe the next corner.
Yeah, all seeing what they can do here, how the car feels. Remember, you can follow the live timing and scoring at GT1world.com, and lots of behind-the-scenes footage there at GT1 TV as well, where you can catch up with what's been happening this weekend. But on board with Max Martin, the number 41 Ford, and he's really beginning to hound Steph Dusseldorf in the Aston Martin ahead of him. Oh, and another possible change up front between the two leaders. Oh my goodness, the two teammates. This is getting very tight indeed. Basseng wants to get through, but Nicky Pastorelli's not going to make it easy for him. And meanwhile, yep, no change there. I think Martin stays ahead of Henrici.
I suspect that Mark Basseng thinks that he can run quicker than Pastorelli can do. Therefore, he wants to put the 38 Lamborghini ahead of the 37. But he's not getting any cooperation from Nicky Pastorelli. Here we get a look and see coming down at the end of into turn 9. That's the back straight, and there was, well, very, very marginal contact between the two cars. The danger is, of course, the front splitter on the Lamborghini is very low indeed. All it needs to do is just come in contact with the rear tyre, and that'll be the lead car pretty much over for the afternoon.
Well, you could hear the lock-up then, couldn't you, when we heard the replay, and so that was pretty marginal, but they got away with it. But it has put him back into the clutches of the Corvette, which Basseng doesn't really need. Nico Verdonk will take any opportunity to slip past, and this is it's a bit like a kart race at this point. I thought that these would spread out, but it hasn't happened at all, and the two Lamborghinis are not having it all their own way. Fastest lap has gone to Mark Basseng so far. He sits in second ahead of this Corvette. Behind the Corvette is still the Aston of Dusseldorf, then the two Fords, followed by Piccini in his Hex's Aston Martin, and then Rossi still holding on to an excellent 8th place.
I think the Corvette is getting very anxious. There's a smaller gap opening up, but I think that's just quite simply that Mark Basseng has got to keep an eye on that temperature gauge. I keep banging on about it, but I know that it is an issue with these extreme temperatures.
Interesting discussion between the drivers of those two Lamborghinis, the teammates. Oh, and this is a move by Max Martin up the inside of the Aston. Nearly gets there. Good racing, well done. They gave each other just enough space, but he didn't get through.
No, he tried on the inside, but he's going to try again into turn 10. Can he get it done? Gets up the inside. Yes, he's got it done this time. And that's what I want to see. Close motor racing, but I don't want to see dodging cars.
No, and that was cleanly done and sort of done over 2 corners. And in fact, Dusseldorf's going to have to watch out because the other Ford is now bearing down on him as well. That was lovely racing. That's what these top-class GT drivers are perfectly capable of. We've got some of the best drivers in the world here in GT cars, and that was putting on a proper show of how you go about racing, and that was extremely well done by Max Martin, who seems to enjoy this track. Let's take another look at this. This was the onboard view.
This is coming down to the main straight, or the back straight, I should say. The Aston goes defensive to the right-hand side of the track. The Ford stays on the left. That's the racing line. Then cuts back again, but isn't quite able to step to Dusseldorf. He gives enough room for Maxime Martin to get through the corner without contact. That's what a racing driver should do. But then he gets caught unawares into turn 10. The Ford better and later on the brakes into that tight left-hand corner. And once he's in position, then the Aston's got to concede.
Yeah, and that was lovely great move, and so he's done that. And in fact, I think no, that's the other Aston. That's the
Piccini.
Andrea Piccini car. So he's on the back of that group. You've got the two teams racing against one another. Mark VDS with their silver, maroon, and yellow Fords, and the two Hexus Aston Martins, similar colours without the yellow. But they're all racing against one another, but very different shapes, of course.
And just to add insult to injury, poor Benina Eakes has been given a drive-through penalty for cutting white line at pit exit.
Yeah, she made a pit stop for a technical problem, and now she's been done for a drive-through.
She made the mistake of going over the white line on the pit lane exit, and she's going to have to take a drive-through penalty just to compound her problem.
That's a great shame. It is a slightly different pit lane exit here, isn't it? We were talking about that earlier on today. It comes out into a kink, so it is a slightly unusual one. But look at the two leaders. They have now, at last, from their point of view, made a little bit of a break, but Bassin still hasn't found a way past his teammate Nicky Pastorelli.
No, he's not going to make it either, unless we see a mistake from Nicky Pastorelli, and it was a mistake that Pastorelli made much earlier in this race. He ran wide in turn 3, and that looked like Mark Bassin was going to get a move on him, and then that contact down at the end of the back straight into turn 9. But again, Pastorelli was able to keep that control of the race. So everybody now just sort of thinking about, well, 44 minutes remaining, 10 minutes time the pit lane will open for the mandatory stop, driver change, tyre change, whatever. So they're thinking more now about how are we going to get through without having collision, without having issues, and handing over to our teammates.
Yeah, but watch Max Martin here, because, you know, he's been able to get past the Aston. He got past his teammate earlier on, and now he is hounding. Yeah, look at the lap times, how he is caught up. He is hounding the back of the Corvette. So suddenly, from being attacker, Nico Verdonk has now turned into defender, and that Ford is getting even closer.
Turn 8, watch for a pass on the inside from the Ford. Well, we don't know whether it's been... No, he didn't. He certainly was shaping up to put the Ford down the inside. Now under the rear wing of the Corvette. I don't know whether the Ford's got the horsepower. The Corvette's gone to the right again to defend. Maxime Martin made the pass, not here on the Aston Martin a lap ago, but it was into turn 10. He's going to maybe try and do the same thing to the Corvette. Maybe Nico Verdonk will be a little bit wiser. He is. He places his car right in the bit of racetrack that Maxime Martin was looking for.
Yeah, and that was quite canny, because it also sort of messed up Martin's rhythm just there. Now he's got a great run going here, but is there anywhere he can make use of it?
Not into turn 13, certainly not on the outside of the corner. So he gets through turn 13, everybody slows down to the speed. Pit lane is to the right hand side of this picture, then the quick turn 13, 14 it is now, up into turn 15, the final corner. Again, do your work, prepare, make sure you get the line you want, get on the throttle, and don't let the back end of the car dance outwards. Yeah, but the traction off the corner actually looks fairly even between both Corvette, and that Corvette certainly got the legs down the straight. We know that that is always the issue for Ford. It's a very good handling chassis, but in balance and performance terms, it has a little bit less hold, a little bit less power, a little bit less torque off the slow corners. That's where they really feel they struggle. But of course, under braking and turning into corners, that's where they're fast. Well, right now, Maxime Martin is absolutely on a mission, and he's got Corvette written all over the windscreen of that Ford GT, and he doesn't like it. No, that's right. He wants to get through. Corvette taking a fairly wide line. I wondered if he might have a think there, but it's not really a chance. Chance will come up into turn 8. Again, Verdonk very canny about how he uses his car, where he puts it. No chance in this particular occasion. Maxime Martin feeling that the Corvette is too competitive. But again, you can see just the way the Corvette can marginally pull away. So frustrating for Maxime Martin. But down the inside. He's down the inside. He's done it. What a lovely bit of outbraking that was. But the Corvette's come back. He overran the corner. But can he maintain? But no, he can't. Oh, I wondered if he was going to hold that and then have the inside line here, which is what he did earlier. But that's great racing between these two. And again, they're giving each other just enough room. Quality stuff as the two leaders continue round to pull away from these two. Still Nico Verdonk and the Corvette. Max Martin, the Belgian, on board the Mark VDS Ford here. And then now, what's he going to do here? Well, not into turn 14, nowhere to go. You just got to follow your leader. Think about it into turn 15, but do the right thing. Go to the left. Defence from Verdonk on the inside of the corner. Now, pick up the throttle. But again, it's the problem. The momentum is lost as you come to the exit of the corner. And again, the Corvette has got that little bit of advantage in a straight line to pull away. Pulls over to the right to prevent anybody. Martin going down the inside. We're back to turn 1, the flat-out flick. And then it's on the brakes for 2 and 3. Just a quick point, not terribly exciting, but further down the order, I noticed a lap or so ago that David Braverman moved up to 11th ahead of Stefan Mucker. Westbrook, by the way, is still in 9th position, but
Michael Krum is still, well, he's not last because of Nina X's pit stop, but he's last but one. Championship leader Michael Krum, so things not going according to plan at all after a bit of an incident at the first couple of corners, which was hard to spot. Here comes Max Martin in the Ford again.
Just can't maintain the position on the acceleration out of 6 through 7 and into 8. We saw GT3 cars making a relatively easy pass. Again, under the rear wing of the Corvette, it's going to go to the right. Ford stays on the left. Watch for the switchback. Watch for the dive down the inside. No, he decides not this time, not near enough to take the risk.
And he has to follow through now. What about this next left-hander? This is where we saw him make a move earlier. No, he knows he can't do it.
Verdonk is good on the brakes, he's late on the brakes, but he keeps the car position, making it extremely difficult for Maxime Martin to put that Ford GT into the position to compromise the Corvette.
Great on-board shots, these, because you're making the thought processes with the driver. He knows he's got the advantage, but he also knows to make a good move, it's got to be without hesitation, and it's got to be focused and committed, and he just knows as yet he hasn't quite got into the position to be able to do that.
He made that one attempt down the back straight into turn 9, but just simply overran, couldn't get the car slowed down, and Nico Verdonk cutely pulled back behind the Ford, was able to get on the throttle and consolidate that third position.
So this is where the action is up front. The two leaders separated by 0.6 of a second, but they've opened up 4 seconds now over these two. So in the early stages it was very, very close between the leaders, but all of this has slowed the pair down, and they're seeing the lead being stretched away as the pit stop opening time is about 4 minutes away. So we are going to be seeing plenty of action in pit lane soon.
Up the inside! Up the inside, got it done. Can he keep it in control? He's got it. Great opportunistic pass, unexpected, but the Corvette's round the outside.
But he's got the inside for the next right-hander. He's there on the inside. Surely the Corvette can't come back from there. But then the Corvette's great off the corner. He's trying to get across, and he just does it. That's his move. The Corvette's going to have to go to the outside. No room. And finally, Max Martin has completed the manoeuvre.
Well, caught everybody unexpectedly into turn 6. The danger was he overran the corner, and the Corvette swapped back underneath the Ford, got alongside. Unfortunately, he was on the outside for the 2 right-hand corners, and Martin was able to control that position. And now we're looking back, Henrici, he's seen what his partner can do. He fancies a bit of the same. Yeah. So it's going to be further torture for Nico Verdonk in the Corvette, with Mark Henrici in the second of the 4 GTs. Yeah. Here we look again. See how close it was. In fact, the Corvette was out about half a car, in fact, a full car length ahead as they came up into turn 8. But the Ford was on the inside, had the control of the corner, and once that was executed, then really diving down the inside, a replay again of what Martin did. Verdonk, I suspect, didn't expect that challenge, but he was smart enough to get back and get ahead. At this point, he was a full car length ahead of the Ford.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Max Martin seems to like this track. He shared the car with Bas Linders last year, and they had a 3rd place finish in the qualifying race and a 5th place in the main race. So obviously this place does suit him. But there are the 2 leaders. Pastorelli still leading from teammate Marc Basseng, with the clock ticking away towards pit stop opening time. The gap between them just 0.6 of a second. Just enough maybe to look after temperatures, but only just, I would think, in the 2nd placed car, and their advantage over the rest has opened up to 5.5 seconds now.
Yeah, and that allows both these cars to back off, take a few hundred RPM out of the rev to ensure that the temperature issues, which I'm aware of, and we're all aware that Lamborghini was marginal, and all of a sudden in the space of those 5, 6, 8 laps they've put themselves into a very comfortable position indeed, and all the focus has been on the Corvette Ford battle.
2 Nissans going side by side as they come down. That's the 2 Sumo Power cars. Still the same. Katzberg in front of Brabham, but Brabham trying to get him as they come around. And now Max Martin. Oh no, it's Henrici trying to get past the Corvette as well. Henrici trying, as you say, repeat what Max Martin did earlier.
But watch the Aston behind, because it's suddenly come back up into this battle. So Steph Dusseldorf, who really had dropped back and hadn't been a player, now he's suddenly feeling, well, I want a bit more action. I had my quiet Saturday afternoon drive. I want to go motor racing.
Yeah, and there is Steph in the number 3 car, chased by his teammate Andrea Piccini. He's running in 7th place. Then you've got that gap back to Michael Rossi, who's still doing a good job in the Corvette, holding on to 8th, and he's staying ahead of a train of potentially rapid cars. He's got Richard Westbrook behind him as Rossi, but he's managing to hold on to that place, and he'll be well pleased with that. Westbrook just can't seem to make a move as those two Aston Martins come through turns 2 and 3. Up front, the gaps, the gap between the leaders and the third place car narrowed a bit on that lap.
Well, the gap between third and the lead 2 cars is actually beginning to run down again. Now that Maxime Martin has got clear of the Corvette, he's pulled clear air in the space of 2 laps from the Corvette and is in fact in the position to challenge the Lamborghinis, if not on lap time, certainly he will do very shortly, lapping a second a lap quicker on the last lap than the lead 2 cars.
Yeah, so the Fords are flying here. We thought the track should suit them. The Sachsenring was great for them as well, but now Mark Iannarici's the one who's got to try and get past this red Corvette, and so far he hasn't been able to follow through as Max Martin did, but it took Martin quite a few laps to sort it out. And there's Verdonk going very defensive. It's going to compromise his exit speed. But again, the Corvette is so good on power out of the corner.
And again, this part of the racetrack through turns 11 and 12, there's so little space to really get any advantage over another car. And in fact, it's very easy for Verdonk to slow the whole group down, back them all up, then get on the throttle and see, well, I thought he was going to make the pit stop, but we haven't quite yet got the pit lane open. It will be open.
Now, I wonder if anyone's going to leap straight into the pits from the group that's running further down towards the back. Max Martin, another rapid lap from him. He's brought down another second, John, on that last lap.
Yeah, it was 4.5, now it's 3.7 seconds, and he is clearly the quickest car on the racetrack by a full second. And we'll wait and see what happens when the pit stop window. If he can draw that Ford GT to the tail of the Lamborghinis.
Mistake from
Iannarici indeed.
And he's nearly lost the place, not quite to Steph Dusseldorp, but Dusseldorp couldn't take advantage. Again, he's wide over the curb, and he's going to have to be very cautious here, otherwise they'll nip up the inside of him.
Well, when you lose your rhythm, as there was the case there with Iannarici, it just all began to look like, what am I going to do? I've got to focus again and stop making these minute driving errors. This is going to cost me at least one place.
So a bit of optimism there on board Steph Dusseldorp, who thought there might be an opportunity to nip past the Ford. It hasn't yet happened, but it's still very, very close in this group, isn't it? Corvette holding on to 4th place, 5th the Ford, then the 2 Astons, 6th and 7th. There's Rossi ahead of Westbrook, and then you've still got the 2 sumo-powered cars of Katzberg and Brabham. Nothing to choose between them at all. Stefan Mucker still running in 12th place, Alex Muller in 13th, and poor old Michael Krum all the way down in 14th. We seem to have lost... 2nd
place, passing first of the lead cars to make a pit stop.
Yep.
We've seen Eats come in and we've seen Leclerc come in, but the focus at the front now, and we also see the Corvette comes into the pits. So, Corvette, Ford GT and Aston Martin. So we're seeing 4th, 5th and 6th as further down the field, Westbrook, or in fact that might have been Nicky Katzberg, David Brabham and Mucker coming in at the same time, and literally pulled out of the car by Dominic Schweiger to get into the car as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, that's Bastang out and Winkelhock in, isn't it? That's the 38 car, so they were in 2nd place. We'll also see how the pit stops compare as everybody rushes around to change all 4 tyres. We know these guys are fast at Hexis, the number 3 car in then, and what can they do to turn it around? Dusseldorp handing over to Clivio Piccioni. Now there goes the number 38 Lamborghini, so there wasn't anyone particularly close. Remember, he was being caught a bit by the Ford, but the Ford has stayed out there. The Corvette now gets running.
And the thing is, can the Corvette get out before the Aston rejoins? No, side by side again. Another incident, well, not yet, but side by side, Aston Martin, Corvette, who's going to get into a narrowing gap? The Corvette was marginally ahead in the pit lane. The Aston had to concede, but really in this first turn, then up into turn 2 and 3, be prepared for an Aston banzai attack to try and get past the Corvette at the earliest possible opportunity.
He's done it. He's down the inside, but he's running wide on the exit. Piccioni has got past. Can he hold it? I think he might be able to.
He had to do that because Mike Hazelmans, if he'd been able to get a half a lap, he would have then found the Aston cruising but really struggling. There's the lead car in now.
The lead car in. So which of the Lamborghinis will be leading after this pit stop? That's going to be really interesting. And remember, Max Martin has stayed out there for the moment in his very fast Ford. He's still lapping a second a lap more than anybody else. And I tell you what, that Ford GT is really going to put itself in amongst the Lamborghinis when it comes to the pit stop, as long as they get a quick pit stop, and then it'll be down to new boy Bertrand Baguette. But in the meantime, the Corvette's come back. Hazelmans gets back down the inside. Lovely stuff from the veteran Corvette racer. He knew exactly how to judge the braking, and he's got in front of Piccioni.
Yeah, good pass down the inside into turn 9, puts himself ahead, lost the opportunity in the opening sequence when they went into turn 2 and 3. Piccioni very cleverly put the Aston down the inside, but Mike Hazelmans has come back, so the Corvette is ahead once again.
But which Lamborghini will be ahead? Because 37 has gone down the pit road. Number 38 is coming down start-finish straight. Pit speed limit, of course, applying to the number 37 car until it's released. And here to change, it is the number 38 car. The early stop has certainly helped Marcus Winkelhock, who now takes the lead of the race in the car he shares with Marc Basset. Look at this lot heading down, and there are cars joining from the pits as well. This is all going to be very interesting. The other Hexis cars got in front of the Corvette, and joining in the fun and games there, the Nissan as well. So it's tight as Piccioni hits the back of the Corvette, gives him a big old thump, and trying to go through there. Jamie Campbell-Walters gained a place.
Yeah, easy move for Campbell-Walter. He just has to sit and watch. The contact came, the Aston was compromised. Smoke from the back of the Corvette. That is damage to the rear bodywork, which in turn, look at the rear smoke.
That looks like an oil leak, doesn't it?
Well, it might be an oil leak. I don't know whether there's an oil radiator at the back of the car, a transmission cooler. And let's have a look and see. Oh yeah, he gives him a right old nerf. And certainly get 4 points on your licence for that one if you're driving in the public roads.
And Jamie Campbell-Walters just sort of nips down the inside.
And he damaged the rear bodywork. I don't know whether that's the bodywork rubbing on the tyre or whether there might well be a cooler somewhere in that region. I think it's more bodywork than anything else.
Oh, and the Corvette guys can't believe it, because it's been such a competitive run from that car once again. And Piccioni...
It's coming off the tyre to the bodywork clearly, and that's going to that tyre. He's got to go into the pits unless he can rub the bodywork away quicker than he rubs through the tyre. Yeah, so it's tyre smoke rather than oil smoke. Well, that's good news from the guys behind. They won't have too much problem. There is Marcus Winkelhock, and he's got this advantage, and now he's got clear air as well, which is what Marc Basset had been looking for in the early stage of the race, but could never get past his teammate. Well, the pit stops have certainly sorted that out. It is the 38 car leading, the 37 Alincourt Lamborghini in second, then the gap back to all the rest racing for third. But I want to see what happens when Max Martin, and of course they're not actually leading yet. Max Martin is still leading this race. He still hasn't made a pit stop, so we're still waiting for the Ford GT of Max Martin to come into the pits, and there he is. We're waiting to see how long he stays out there. The danger is he's not the quickest car on the racetrack. That happens to be the Winkelhock Lamborghini, which has got fresh rubber, so they will be bringing this car in now. There is Bertrand Baguette. He will be into the car driven by Marc Martin, but Martin has done such good work in the laps that he stayed out on. He's been able to run a second a lap quicker than the rest of the field, so he may well put himself into even closer contention to the two Lamborghinis. Remember, he ran them down prior to this round of pit stops.
Yeah, no, it could be a threat, but as you say, I think it's time they came in. I'm not sure he shouldn't have come in on this last lap.
Well, the last lap, the Lamborghini had a quicker lap. He's in. I mean, we saw Baguette ready to jump into the car. Whether they should come in a lap earlier or come in this lap is a moot point. We'll see just how quickly this pit stop takes place and where the Ford GT rejoins, whether it's between the two Lamborghinis or whether has Martin done enough in the intervening period to get ahead of the lead Lamborghini. And well, we'll have to just wait and see how quick this pit stop goes.
What a great moment for Bertrand Baguette, who's making his race debut in GT1 World Championship. Indy 500 racer. He contested many of the IRL races last year. Oh, get the door shut, get him. Oh no, we've got a delay. Oh, the door weren't shut. Would you believe it?
We've had a problem with the door on the Ford GTs in the past. That's cost 5 seconds.
Oh.
There, the two Lamborghinis are now on the pit straight. Had that not happened, clearly that Ford would have been between these two Lamborghinis, but now he's going to have to do all the work that Maxime Martin did, and in fact he's in danger of losing potentially third place as the Aston comes up, the Hexus Aston, and it sweeps past the Ford GT into turn one, and what a disaster for the Mark BDS 14.
Oh, that's such a shame. Yeah, he's lost it to Hohen Ardel, who's now taken over the number 4 Hexus Aston Martin. Good run though from Hohen Ardel. They'll be Hexus once again. Good pit stops, turning that car around. But Max Martin, what a great drive, great stint from him that was. Really enjoyed watching him.
So it's all now in the hands of the newcomer to GT1 World Championship, Bertrand. Oh, problem for the Corvette, and rear tyre finally. Well, we know with body contact, and the bodywork has rubbed through the tyre more than the tyre rubbing the bodywork away. So Mike Hazeman's creeping back. He's at turn, I think that's turn 10. So he's pretty much round the lap, but still 2 more corners to go before he can even see the side of the pit lane.
Trying to stay out of everybody's way there, but is he actually going to make it back? I'm not sure. And there is your race leader. It is Marcus Winkelhock. He's got a 4-second lead over his own teammate, which is now Dominic Schwager, driving the number 37 car. And plenty of time still left in this race. They will be managing the temperatures. That's what they are so wary about. But they're both running in relatively clean air, so brakes and engine temperatures hopefully won't be as marginal now they're running like this. 26 minutes remain. And I think the racing, the hard racing, is going to be somewhat further behind these guys, because just look at the advantage they have as they cross the line. 1 and 2, they're separated by 4 seconds. The next nearest car, way back in the distance there, is the Hexis Aston Martin of Christian Hohenadel, then the Ford of Bertrand Baguette, the newcomer to the series, former single-seater racer, F1 tester, Renault 3.5 champion. Now he's got to get to grips with it. Jamie Campbell-Walter running well in 5th, and Jamie seems to like this track too. He went well here last year, and meanwhile the Darren Turner Aston there coming under some pressure from Peter Dumbreck.
Yeah, so the focus of the battle is now leaving the front of the race and is coming more to the midfield, as we see this Nissan and this Aston Martin. Darren Turner behind the wheel after Stefan Mucke completed his run. A good run for Peter Dumbreck, taking over from Richard Westbrook. So maybe now we'll watch and see whether a Nissan can lay it on the Aston as they go down to turn 6.
Just news also, John, that there's a drive-through penalty for car 3. That was the Hexis Aston Martin of Piccioni for colliding into the back of Mike Hazeman's Corvette.
Yes, that was an avoidable incident, and we're seeing now the stewarding at every FIA event being much more aware of incidents that occur that disadvantage a driver. Mike Hazeman, we don't know where he is, but he's in the pits at the minute, so whether he leaves the pits we don't know. But his race was spoiled by that contact, and therefore why should the driver responsible for the contact not receive some punishment himself?
What that will do is move these 2 up, because they're actually further back. They are following Piccioni in his Aston, so it will move them up to what will it be, 6th and 7th. Hazeman's climbers out of his Corvette. That's so disappointing, because that car was a real front runner in there. Nico Verdonk drove a good first stint. He was fighting hard, and it was looking good and clean until it just went wrong down into turn 2 and 3, and the drivers just having a discussion about it. But that's a great pity, and they needed the points. Certainly Hazeman's has been fast at most circuits, but you've got to get the good results, and of course that'll drop him back on the grid. He'll be at the back of the grid for the championship race.
You lose so much time trying to get back into the pits with a flat tyre, and if you go too quickly then you'll do even more damage. But by the time you get back to the pits, is there any point in putting a fresh tyre on that left rear? You're not going to score points, so wait until, let's look again and see what happened. I mean, just Livio Piccioni misjudged the pace of the Corvette and bumped into the back of it. It wasn't an intentional move, it wasn't a deliberate move. The consequence is he will suffer a penalty. The pace of Hazeman's into turn 3, maybe a little bit cautious on the entry, and Piccioni just simply misjudged it.
Yeah, so Piccioni's going to have the drive-through. There's his teammate Steph Dusseldorf, a little shake of the head after he'd worked so hard and got so hot in the car, and it's all rather undone, I'm afraid. But one little tiny error, and that's the price you pay, and they're just going to have to live with that. Meanwhile, you've got the battle of the Brits here between Darren Turner in the Aston Martin and Peter Dumbreck right behind him. And Peter was very quick in qualifying this morning. Richard Westbrook in the car suffered a bit of understeer, but nonetheless, Dumbreck looks as though he might be able to line that Aston up.
Oh, I think so. I think Dumbreck is the quicker of the 2 cars. Again, it's just a matter, as we see the Aston come in for his drive-through penalty, it's a matter of Peter Dumbreck just finding the position, making the opportunity for himself, and getting down the inside of Darren Turner in the Aston Martin, and Peter Dumbreck clearly on a mission to do so.
So it's going to feel like an age here for Livio Piccioni to head his way down the pit lane, and as he does so, everyone else is overtaking him out on the circuit. There go Turner and Dumbreck. They're chased by Engelbert, who has taken over from Michael Rossi, and the DKR Corvette still running in the top 10. They're running in 8th place, so that's good news. Let's go down here now from Mike Hazeman.
Mike, what was looking like it was going to be a successful race for you, it is unfortunately over now. Tell us what's going on with the car.
Yeah, nothing. Piccioni, I think it was. He just outbraked and maybe was a little bit frustrated that I overtook him back. I don't know. I think he just made a mistake. And normally it doesn't matter if you hit it, but he hit me on the side, and then something came in the tire, and it was just moments before it's gonna blow. So yeah, that was a little bit of pity, because I think at least at the first 3-4 for tomorrow to have a big start was possible. That's racing.
Thank you.
Oh, a little move up the inside there, and that's Enrique Bernoldi gaining a place, getting past Bastleinders. Oh no, is he? Because Bastleinder retakes him back again.
Well, the problem going down the inside into turn 8 is that you commit yourself down the inside. You then have got a very acute angle, and if you can't make it, you overrun the corner, and the car that you've passed has got an open bit of racetrack on the racing line, and it's just a simple matter of just occupying that bit of racetrack and retaking the position.
Yeah, so that was neatly done. That's for 9th place, just ahead of